Happy Friday, and welcome back to Live Lunch and Learn. I am your host, Lambros, and this month we are focusing on financial literacy, which is why I'm calling it Financial February. Say that 3 times fast. So last week, my guest was Jerry Hogenhood, and he talked about RRSPs as well as the investment marketplace. And today I am thrilled to bring in the credit guy, or the entrepreneur whisperer, as he likes to be called, RJ Stewart. RJ is a U.S. Army veteran. He used to lead an infantry squad, and today he leads entrepreneurs and helps them grow their business. Welcome to the program, RJ.
Hey, Lambros.
Hey,
Thanks for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making the time. I know you're a busy guy. That's awesome.
My pleasure.
Great. So before we begin, RJ, obviously I'm not American, but the U.S. is Canada's ally and our closest neighbor. So I just want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. And so speaking of the military, I'm just curious how you made that transition from the military to an entrepreneur.
Oh, great question. I don't think I've ever actually been asked that before.
There you go.
So, going into the military, I went in 18, kid, wet behind the ears, but I thought I knew everything. I gained a lot of skills while in the military, learned how to lead and be led. And I think naturally, when I got out of the military, I realized that I couldn't grow any further than the company that I worked for, its mission statement. And I just kind of just went into it. I just didn't want to work for anyone who didn't see eye to eye with my visions and values.
Interesting. So what was your first venture as a small business owner?
Believe it or not, truck driving.
You're kidding.
Mm-hmm. I became an independent contractor for a truck driving company, and I learned expenses and budgeting, and I was like, I like this. I want to do more of it.
Yeah. Well, truck drivers have been in the news a lot lately, as you must have heard. Right? Awesome. Okay. But then, so how do you go from truck driving then, another transition into credit? Tell us about that.
So credit was, I went from truck driving, then I actually went into life insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And in life insurance, I realized that they based a lot of their rates off of credit. And I was here to help people in life insurance. And I realized that even though I was offering them life insurance to help them insure their life, I was still putting them more in a financial bind when I had to do a credit check and charge them more. And I felt like I was adding another bill to their life.
I see.
So with credit, I felt like I could lower that down and make it to where it was more financially feasible to them.
Lowering their fees, you mean? So
yes,
boosting their credit but lowering their fees, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's great. So speaking of that, then, so how does one, generally speaking, I know there's a number of ways to do it, but what are some good tips for people in order to increase their credit scores?
Gotcha. So credit restoration and credit repair are two different things. A lot of people put them together, but the first thing that you have to do is credit repair.
Okay.
You have to get rid of those negative items. All right. So getting rid of those negative items is the first thing that you have to do. And a lot of people think that their credit score is automatically going to go up after you repair your credit. No, now you have to restore it, because credit essentially is proving that you're worthy to be lent to, right?
That's right.
So you repair your credit, and then lenders are still looking like, all right, you repaired your credit, but what makes us think that we can lend to you again? Now you start restoring. So, a small credit card that you use, $50 and then pay it off, or, small things like that, small gestures to prove your credit worthiness again. That is the quickest way to build your credit back up again.
Right. So how long would it usually take? I mean, obviously it's case by case, but on average, if somebody has bad credit, how long would it take to repair it, then restore it and get them back to where they're able to borrow again?
Well, I've seen people who, if you're really on it, you're really diligent about it, you
Mhm.
can start to make an impact in your credit in as little as 45 days. You can
Wow.
start to, yeah. If you know the ins and outs, you know how to make disputes, you know who to contact, you know how to contact them. It's it can be a quick process or it could be a long drawn out process.
Right. So, and that's where you come in, right? So you help people make those contacts and shorten up that process if they have to, right? Good,
Definitely.
good. And your company's called Pro Entity LLC.
Yes.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent.
Yes, sir.
Oh, great. Okay. So moving on, you also, I mean, you have a great podcast, rather. I know for firsthand from it, Net Builders 360. So I'd like to talk about that as well, and I'd like to talk about the entrepreneurs that you help. Um, but first of all, let's talk about the podcast. How did you come up with that? Like now you're a credit guy. I'm not sure if the timeline's correct, but tell us about that. How did that originate? What was the idea behind it?
It was not what I intended it to be, actually, and it's
Yeah.
become way more than I ever thought it would be. I was able to meet and connect with great people like you, which is way more than I could ever ask for. So, so I'd be more than happy. Um, it honestly started because I am, believe it or not, an introvert and afraid to talk on camera and afraid to talk to someone
Could
that
have
I
fooled me.
but I knew in the field that I was working with, life insurance and credit, I needed to network. I needed to be able to reach out.
Okay.
And I felt like I could break my introversy by
Yeah.
creating a setting that I was comfortable in and inviting people into it.
Yeah. No,
That's
that's awesome. That's a great message, actually, because I'm the same way, right? So when people know me, they usually the first word to describe me is, oh, he's maybe not introvert, but he's shy, he's reserved, he's quiet, this and that. My whole life growing up, people were saying I was quiet, I was quiet, I was quiet. So you're absolutely right. This helps bring that side out of me.
Mhm.
So that's awesome to hear that it helped you as well, and maybe it'll help others as well. So technology today is fabulous. Take advantage of it, and let your real self come out. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's awesome.
Definitely.
So give us a success story then. Has with Net Builders, maybe yours, maybe it's someone else that you've helped. How has it helped people?
It has helped a lot of people. I'll give an example.
Sure.
Networking is what Net Builders is about.
Okay.
Now, through Net Builders, I met my brother Threat. That's you put up there. So, but I didn't meet him first.
Yeah.
First, I met a gentleman named Xavier James,
Okay.
and he introduced me to a gentleman named Greg Snyder.
Okay.
And Greg Snyder talked to me about Threat Brown,
Okay.
and which was running YBMW, an organization here, a nonprofit, and immediately I wanted to meet him, so I drove over to meet him, and the network is just spiderweb and expanded like beyond belief. Like I've lived here in Tacoma, Washington for 5 years, and I think I've met in the past year, I've met more people than I've ever known here just because of Net Builders.
That's amazing. That's
Mhm.
amazing. So how many, I guess, what's the reach now for Net Builders? How many people are involved in it?
Oh man. I would say a couple of thousand now. It's great, and my calendar is packed right now with
I'm sure it is.
episodes.
I'm sure it is. That's why I said thank you for making some time to come on this program.
No, it's the pleasure's all mine. The pleasure's all mine.
That's amazing. Thank you. So going from a success story, let's talk about mistakes somebody makes. Let's say they want to do their own business, and a lot of people actually with COVID last 2 years, we saw the Great Resignation. We saw people leave their jobs and do business for themselves. Some online, some bricks and mortar, or whatever. But what should people know? What are some of the mistakes? Give us the top 3 mistakes that that an entrepreneur would make.
Mindset is the top.
Okay.
People that started their business during COVID, I call them vidpreneurs. that's
appropriate. Yeah, for sure.
I call them that, and they came into entrepreneurship because they realize how unstable working the 9 to 5 is. If something happens and bam, your life stability is gone, your financial stability is gone.
Yeah.
So, but they threw a bunch of money into their business, and they watched YouTube videos and found out how to do this, how to do that. But the one thing they didn't develop was mindset.
Wow.
So the minute that something bad happened, they either shied away, ran away, or ran back to their job, So if you go into entrepreneurship, realize that it's not a hobby. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. That's
absolutely. That's the biggest thing. I would have to agree with you there. It takes a different mindset to, like you say, work 9 to 5, than have your own business. But having said that, when you have your own business, you have to treat it almost like a 9 to 5, because I mean, you can't work 24/7, right? You're just going to burn out, right? So you gotta take time. And it's hard not to take your work home, because sometimes you're working from home, working all hours. I'm a prime example of that. I'm sure you are as well. But it's not about just being your own boss, but you have to be your own employee as well. So there's so much to go into it, and I mean, you're probably the perfect person to talk to about that. But let me get back to that. I asked for 3 mistakes after mindset. What would be the next mistake an entrepreneur makes?
Reading.
Okay. Great.
Yes. Because that builds mindset. But the reason why I love reading so much is because I can learn from someone who's done it and lived it. I can learn from their experience without having to go through what they went through.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? The E-Myth, for example, by Michael E. Gerber, one of the most amazing books. I think I've read it 3 times, and then I found out there was an audio book, and you can't stop me from listening to that. I'm listening to it all the time.
But how do you want to feel about that? Sorry, honey, I was listening to my ebook.
Exactly. It is great. I really encourage entrepreneurs read every chance you get. And now that it's sitting down to read, I used to read at night before I went to sleep, but now I could turn on an audio book and listen to it while I'm working, and you'd be surprised how much you actually absorb.
Yeah.
Turn off the TV. Just listen to an audiobook and gain from someone else's experience.
Sure. Or when you're in the car, right? Just play it there instead of the radio station. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a great suggestion. I love it. There's so many books that I've piled up that I haven't gotten to yet. So I'm definitely going to make an effort this year to do that. It's one of my resolutions.
Outstanding. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I've already read 2 this year. So I mean, it's 2 more than I read in the last few years.
You won't regret it. You won't regret it.
Oh, that's good. And what's the 3rd mistake? So
the 3rd mistake is find a mentor. It doesn't have to be a paid mentor. It doesn't have to be a coach. Find somebody that is doing what you're doing in your field and shadow them, whether it's by following someone on YouTube or, follow them, see what they're doing, take their advice and take it to heart. And if you see that they're where you want to be in the next 5 years, duplicate what they're doing.
Excellent. Wow. Find a mentor. That's awesome. Something else I hadn't thought about, and I wasn't. Well, I shouldn't say that, because when I first got into real estate, there was a lot of people there who helped me along the way. They weren't official mentors, but they were open. That's why I love my brokerage. And everybody was willing to help each other. And now that I'm experienced, I kind of pass that along to all the new people coming in as well. So,
yeah, you are a mentor. You are the person that people look at. Like,
yeah,
that's
great. Oh, that's awesome. So speaking of mentorship, that's something you do as well, right? You do business coaching, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So tell us about that.
Oh man, those 3 mistakes that we just mentioned right there. Most common that I see all the time. And when I started in my entrepreneurship, believe it or not, I don't say this much often, but I had 2 businesses when I first started, and they failed horribly. Crash and burn, because I had that vidpreneur mindset. This is pre-COVID though, that these businesses crashed and burned.
And
I wanted to blame everybody and anybody in the world
Yeah.
for my failure. But I've seen so many other people doing what I attempted to do. So I said, well, if they can do it, why am I not able to do this? You know, I've been able to be successful at everything else. And I tried to carry being an entrepreneur like I did everything else. And I didn't realize it was a complete different monster in itself, complete different beast. And
Mm.
once I really delved into it and learned it and lived it, I realized that I can pass that along. I can help others be able to do it without having to watch two of their babies or their businesses
Of course.
burn. You know, because that was I still don't know how I got back on a horse again, honestly, because those are some heartbreaking moments. But
Wow.
if I could prevent that, anyone else from feeling that, I will.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, RJ. That's awesome. Um, so, who's your biggest client success story then? You don't have to mention names or anything like that, but tell us somebody that you helped.
Gotcha. I would say I probably shouldn't mention his name. So, but I'll talk about his digital photography business. He
Okay.
uses a Massport and a Matterport, and he
Oh,
does.
Matterport. Yeah, we have that as well. We do that a lot of that in real estate. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he saw a business model and he really wanted to work at it, but he didn't understand outreach. He didn't understand marketing. He didn't understand his target. You know, he just believed that if he built it, they would come.
Yeah.
And now he is doing an amazing job in Fayetteville, North Carolina. He's booked out. He's
Wow.
outsourcing and he's hiring, and he
Oh,
never.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Good for you and good for him. That's amazing.
he's loving life right now. He calls me every week. Even he was like, "Hey, am I on the clock right now?" He was like, "Are you charging me?" I was like, "I sure am." He's like, "That's cool. Let's just talk for a minute. I just wanted to tell you thank you."
Yeah, that's awesome. Now he can afford to pay you.
Yeah, yeah. He's a
That's
great guy.
great. That's great. No, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good stuff. All right. So we're just at about 20 minutes here. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience, RJ? Any
Yes,
words of wisdom?
yes. Entrepreneurs understand that you're here because you're the answer to a problem. You are a solution. Never forget that you're a solution, and that's what you bring. Um, there is not a product for every market, but there's a market for every product. So be patient and really find your niche, find your market, and cater to them. Don't worry about catering to the world, or then you'll help no one.
That's amazing. No, that's great. I love that. There's not a product for every market, but there's a market for every product. So that's great.
Thank you.
No problem. So we have another comment here as well. Threats bringing up your book. So tell us about your book, RJ.
Oh,
I'm
my
sure.
book, How to Kill Your Inner Employee. I wrote this. I wrote this during COVID, of course, because a lot of people were going into entrepreneurship, and I wanted to try to get ahead of that and say, hey, if you're gonna do it, and we can't talk face to face, at least
Yeah.
read the book. Try to get rid of some of those habits of the 9 to 5 because you're going into something completely different. So
Sure.
that was the whole point of that book there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So before we sign off today, make sure we tell people how to get this book, right? So
Yep. You can
amazing.
find that book on rjstewartinspired.com or proentitysbs.com.
Okay, perfect. So I will put up the URL before we end the show. But we have another question here, actually, from the lovely Karen Carrington, who was a guest on my show as well. Thank you, Karen, for your question. Karen's a fellow entrepreneur and a podcaster, and she has a question here. Being Black History Month, as a business coach and mentor, what advice would you have for young Black youth? Great question, Karen. Thank you.
Honestly, my advice for them would be carry this month like you would every other month. Every single month, put everything that you have into it. personally, I don't treat any holiday or any certain type of the year any certain way. It's always crunch time for me. Even if I have all the time in the world, it's always crunch time. If you give everything 100, if you give what you're doing 100% every month, you won't even know this is February.
Fantastic. It's great question and great answer. Thank you, RJ. So it looks, I think that's it for the questions. I don't see any more. I'm going to put up that URL right now so people know how to reach you. So it's rjstewartinspire.com.
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. So they can get your book from there as well?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And they can also reach out to you as well. RJ, it's been a huge pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the program. You're welcome back anytime.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.